Hi, this is Rick with Spec Surplus. I wanted to go over a little bit of Paracord today, kind of a Paracord 101, and talk about some very basics. First I want to talk about is the handling of Paracord. It can become very frustrating with long lengths if not put upright or handled correctly. This was a length I got just like that, and that's going to be, while it looks nice and fairly decent, going to be a pain to get apart without having to detangle and de-knot it. So first I want to talk about handling it and trying not to spend a bunch of time taking knots out while you're working with it. This knot on the end is a stopper knot. It's just a simple figure 8. I'll go over knots a little bit later, but I put that in the running end so that I know where the end's at. I can just look and find that knot. Now I want to talk about handling it while you're working with it, and there's a method called just the pitch and pile. It's something I learned from my tree climbing days and handling ropes. You simply pile it up. It doesn't matter what, there's no form or fashion to it. You just pile it up. And when you go to pull it off of that pile, it comes right to you. Of course, if you're out in the woods, leaves, twigs, sticks, you might want to lay it on something to keep it out of the dirt and getting tangled up with sticks and so forth. The other thing I want to talk about is the heat sealing the ends. This is what was on this length. As you can see, that is just going to keep going, keep unraveling, and be a mess. So I've heat sealed it, and it's simply with a lighter or any flame. And there is a trick to it. You don't want to just put the whole thing in the flame, because the outer core tends to melt faster than the inner cores. What I do is just put it right up to the edge, and the flame will kind of reach out and start melting, and I let it go till it starts to bubble a little. And when you get to that point, it'll even take on a little flame of its own. Do not grab it, or you'll end up with one of those. You can let it cool like that, or if you don't want the mushroom head on it, you can kind of work it down gently to a point or whatever. Or while it's still warm, you can touch it off on something. Okay, well, I got these cores out. I want to show you. We talked a little bit in the thread about commercial versus mil-spec, or military, not necessarily mil-spec, because commercial can be mil-spec. This cord is 2, 4, 6, 7 cord. That's the 550 pound tensile string. And you can see on this one, it has, camera autofocus, apologize about that, has the black and yellow braided into one of the strands. That's the indication of true military cord. This particular cord I know is true military. I got it from an airborne Army Ranger last year, and this came off of his parachute. So I got about, I don't know, 800 feet from him. But it was in that tangled mess you saw, and it took me hours to straighten it out. But at any rate, that heat sealing sure makes a much cleaner and easier to handle than that mess. Okay, I want to talk about tools that I use to cut and so forth. I finally come to the conclusion that a pair of side cutters or dikes are probably the easiest and cleanest cutting. I started off using this tool here, which is a cord cutter, strap cutter, that the Air Force pilots carry. It also has an oxygen tank tool, a fire starter on it. This blade, while very sharp, didn't last all that long. It comes with extra blades, but no longer than it lasted, I don't want to keep changing blades in it. So that's when I went to the dikes. I keep the little needle nose around for maybe pulling through a knot, or as you saw, forming the melted head. This pick needle, I picked this up when I was braiding my own tree ropes, and it's been very helpful picking knots out. It's also a needle for sewing large ropes. And then of course a source of heat to melt the ends. If you do a lot of it, the Bic lighter won't last very long. You'll go through quite a few of them. That's the basic tools I use, and we'll go over some of the things you can do with paracord. And the possibilities are only limited as your imagination. And I'll show you what I've got here. These are neck lanyards we made. A lobster claw on one end, safety pop on the other end. This is one continuous piece of paracord. If you had to take it apart, I think you would end up with about 8 feet in an emergency. The standard bracelet. This one happens to be 2-color. Simple knot retention. More bracelets. 2-color knot or bracelet. There's a 3-cord braid. This particular ordeal is we like to coyote hunt, and this is what we hang all of our calls from when going out in the field. And I'm going to go over some of these basic knots a little bit later on. This is a slip knot. Very great. It's a great knot, used for about anything. This I've braided in a cobra stitch long enough to go around the boonie hat. You can carry 20 feet of paracord that way. More bracelets. More call lanyards, just a simple 3-braid. And you can also combine other, this is nylon upholstery thread. You can combine that with your paracord for whatever reason. This can be an easy keychain with a good 9 feet of paracord going with you. This is a wrist lanyard with adjustable retention. This is one continuous piece. I think it's about 9 feet. This is an old dog collar that I've wrapped with a cobra stitch, and hidden inside there between the 2 dog collar layers is an X-Acto blade, and it's wrapped in tape in addition, so you'd have an emergency razor blade in the field. This bracelet uses a cobra stitch with an old dog collar clip. This clip, as you can see, is bowed to help fit the contour of the wrist. If you use a flat one, it just doesn't lay right on your wrist. Here's some of the hardware that I use, and it's about as wide and varied as the colors of paracord nowadays. There's the necklace retention clips, safety clips, butt end clips, kind of clean up the butt end. Locks, use on a stuff bag, buckles, key rings, and all sorts of clasp, and about anything you could imagine. There's some D-rings, ornament. You can ornament it any way you want. I just happen to have some wooden beads. Buttons I've salvaged off of BDUs. Here's some old clips, or clips that I've yet to cut off an old purse strap. And I'll bet you go to the garage sale now and never look at a purse the same. You go to buy these in small quantities and they can get pretty expensive pretty fast. So rather than just throw these away, I'll cut those off and reuse them in a project somewhere. Okay, in the next segment I'm going to actually go over doing some basic braiding and some very basic knots with the paracord.